The Rover P4 looks like the sort of car that should whisper through a village square and park outside a bank manager's office. But behind that polished, respectable face was a machine full of strange ideas, American influence, and engineering tricks Britain almost forgot. Subscribe if you love classic British car documentaries. Today, we're uncovering the hidden secrets of the Rover P4 that even true classic car fans might not know. The Cyclops that shocked Britain. The feature that made early Rover P4s impossible to ignore sat right in the middle of the grille. That central lamp, soon nicknamed the Cyclops eye, gave the car a face unlike almost anything else on British roads in 1949. It was not there just for theatre. Rover used it as an extra driving lamp, a clever detail intended to improve visibility at a time when post-war night driving could still feel dim and uncertain. The problem was that many buyers did not see cleverness first. They saw a respectable British saloon suddenly flirting with American-style boldness. At the Earl's Court Motor Show, it looked modern, strange, and slightly unsettling, and that is exactly why it matters. Before the Rover P4 became dignified, it was briefly controversial, the British saloon with American DNA. For a car remembered as deeply British, the Rover P4 had a surprisingly transatlantic backstory. During its development, Rover studied the post-war Studebaker so closely that one experimental mule became known as the Roverbaker, blending Rover engineering with American body ideas. You can see the influence in the full-width body, the cleaner sides and the more modern stance compared with pre-war saloons. This clever design helped Rover step away from upright, old-fashioned styling and move towards something smoother and more confident. The practical benefit was simple. The P4 looked newer, roomier, and better suited to a changing world. But the deeper meaning is what makes the story stick. One of Britain's most gentlemanly cars was shaped, in part, by the design daring of South Bend, Indiana. The Auntie Rover was secretly radical. People later called it the Auntie Rover, as if it had always been a soft-spoken machine for doctors, solicitors, and careful men in tweed. But that cozy image hides how advanced the P4 really felt when it arrived. Unlike many earlier British saloons, it used a more forward cabin layout, with passengers sitting in a space designed for comfort rather than ceremony. The seats were generous, the glass area felt airy, and the whole car had a more integrated body shape than the separate wing cars it replaced. That brought real everyday benefits, especially for rear passengers, who enjoyed a more civilized ride position. In simple terms, it was easier to live with, not just easier to admire, and that contradiction became part of its lasting legacy. The Rover people joked about as old-fashioned had once been quietly ahead of the room, the freewheel trick most drivers forgot. One of the most unusual details in the Rover P4 was something many modern drivers would scarcely believe. Freewheel? In simple terms, when the driver lifted off the throttle, the transmission could let the car coast rather than forcing the engine to hold it back. It sounds odd today, but in the 1950s, it was sold as a surprisingly practical solution. The car felt smoother in traffic, gear changes could seem less abrupt, and long-distance cruising took on an easy, gliding character. It also helped Rover reinforce the idea that refinement mattered as much as outright speed. That mattered in a Britain still full of rough roads, cold mornings and journeys that rewarded patience more than aggression. Freewheel did not become the future, but for a moment it showed how differently Rover imagined comfort. The Rover that became a jet car. Perhaps the wildest twist in the P4 story is that this calm, respectable saloon helped give birth to a jet car. Rover's turbine experiment, Jet 1, used a P4-based structure and stunned the public by turning a sensible family car platform into something that looked like science fiction. In 1952, at Jabeke in Belgium, the turbine rover reached over 150 miles apeti, which made the connection even more extraordinary. The explanation is simple. Rover engineers saw the P4 not just as transport, but as a stable and useful base for serious experimentation. The practical benefit never reached ordinary buyers in any direct way, but the emotional meaning was huge. Beneath the polished wood and conservative image was a company bold enough to chase the future. That hidden ambition gives the P4 a far more exciting soul than its appearance first suggests. The automatic Rover built before Britain was ready. When Rover introduced the 105R in the mid-1950s, it offered something that still felt unusual in Britain, an automatic transmission developed in-house, called Rover Drive. That alone made the car stand out. Instead of simply copying the American formula, Rover created a compact but effective system that used a limited automatic range combined with overdrive to give drivers easier progress without losing the car's smooth character. For the owner, the practical benefit was clear. In city traffic or on long journeys, the car demanded less effort and delivered a more relaxed experience. It was one more step in Rover's quiet campaign to make motoring gentler, smarter, and more refined. Historically, it shows something important. Britain's car industry was not only building traditional saloons in places like Solihull, it was trying, in its own way, to modernize before the public fully asked for it. The survivor that outlived its own replacement. Most cars fade away once their replacement arrives. The Rover P4 did something far stranger. It kept going, even after the larger Rover P5 appeared in 1958, and even after the modern P6 arrived in 1963, the P4 remained in production until 1964. That tells you everything about its hidden strength. It still had a place because it offered something neither newer model replaced completely, a familiar blend of dignity, comfort, and proven dependability. For buyers, that meant they could still choose the old world over the new one and feel no embarrassment about it. For Rover, it meant the P4 had become more than a model line. It had become a trusted institution, and that may be the most revealing detail of all. The car once mocked as Auntie Rover survived because people simply did not want to let it go. The Rover P4 was more than a respectable post-war saloon. It was a strange, clever, quietly ambitious machine that carried Britain from old-world motoring into something far more modern. From its Cyclops nose to its jet car connection, it proved that dignity could still hide drama. Click the next video to discover more forgotten British classics. Like, subscribe, and tell us what you think of the Rover P4. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.